What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Legitical Response. And now, some of you may not pay attention to Louisiana politics, but however, I stay up to date with Louisiana politics quite a bit because I live in Louisiana. So if you're not in Louisiana, this may not be the video for you, but stick around because this may be coming to a theater near you, if you will, or a state near you at some point in time. And this, we get into a grander discussion about the entire country and why having it set up with different states and why the federal government kind of needs to back off a little bit to let us live, please. And why the left can't stand this. So let's get into this real quick. Okay, so as a lot of you may know, recently Louisiana had saw a tidal wave of red, as a matter of fact. Yeah, we have a supermajority. We have a Republican governor, and we have a supermajority in the state legislatures, both Senate and the legislative body. But so we're really deep red Republican right now, which is a very good thing because we had 8 years of this far left Democrat guy that turned our state into garbage, absolute garbage. And we are finally bouncing back from that. But don't let the corporate press narrative fool you. We're loving it down here. I am loving this place. But let's get into this story. Let's get into it because the left has gone insane, y'all, once again. Hey, y'all remember the Don't Say Gay bill? I'm sure a lot of you guys remember that, right? Guess what? We've got our own version of it, and it has nothing to do with not saying gay at all. It's common sense law, as a matter of fact. Let's get into it, though. Surgical castration, don't say gay, and absentee regulation. New laws go into effect in Louisiana, and the Associated Press is whinging, folks. They are absolutely whinging. Let's get into it. Check this out, y'all. A slew of Louisiana legislation, including a first-of-its-kind law that allows judges to impose the punishment of surgical castration for offenders guilty of certain sex crimes against children, went into effect Thursday. Yes, this is a very harsh law, but I think should be imposed, on every criminal in the entire United States. It would really stop these people in their tracks. Once you realize, okay, you could get chemically castrated if you do this, right? It's certain crimes against children, and I'm sure you guys know what they are. I'm not going to repeat them here, but yeah, certain crimes against children. Yeah, I think so. I think that's a very good punishment for that because you just destroyed that person's life, right? Like that child, an innocent child. Of course, the left tries to say, oh, the children aren't innocent. It's like, what are you talking about, innocent? They're not innocent? Of course they are. They don't know they don't know all this gender crap. They don't know all your BS. That's why all these drag shows like they have all over the place with naked men dancing on a float that's going down the damn road or something, like these parades and all this garbage. No, you shouldn't have children that. Children do not need to see stuff like that. It's degeneracy at its best. But getting back to this is a very good deterrent for some of these crimes. I think, in my personal opinion, I think we should have a higher bar, like much stiffer penalties for certain crimes to deter people from doing them, right? Like, if you have the death penalty for every crime out there, you're going to think twice before committing a crime. That's just basic logic. Now, I'm not saying to impose the death penalty, of course, on everybody for every single crime. However, violent offenders, I think they should get stiffer penalties than what they do because we see it all over the place. People will murder somebody else and, get off on a technicality or get away with just a few years, right? Which is insane. You can't incentivize murder in that fashion, but just saying, oh, well, let's see, is it worth doing a few years in jail if I take this person out? It's like, no, there should be much stiffer penalties, or at least the possibility of a much stiffer penalty, and let the people gamble that in their head if they want to. Let's keep going. Between new Republican Governor Jeff Landry and a GOP supermajority in the Louisiana legislature, measures mirroring national conservative priorities had a clear path forward into law this year. From anti-LGBTQ plus bills, right? Like the way they say it. Oh, it's anti-LGBTQ. No, it's not. As a matter of fact, it's not anti-LGBTQ plus. Tough on crime policies and additional regulations on absentee ballots. Here's a closer look at some of the legislation that officially took effect Thursday. Surgical castration as punishment. Yes. Similar to a handful of other states, including California, Florida, and Texas, for more than 15 years, Louisiana has had a law in place allowing judges to impose the punishment of chemical castration for people who prey on children. I'll put it that way. However, Louisiana is now the first state that will give judges the option to sentence someone to surgical castration after the person has been convicted of certain aggravated sex crimes, including rape, incest, and molestation against a child under 13. The punishment is not automatic and would be at the discretion of the judge. Chemical castration uses medications that block testosterone production to decrease sex drive. Surgical castration is a much more invasive procedure that involves the removal of both testicles or ovaries. It is used in other countries that are known for harsher criminal sanctions, including the Czech Republic and Nigeria. Proponents of the Louisiana law, including Democratic Senator Regina Barrow, who authored it, hope the new possible punishment will deter people from committing such heinous crimes against children. Opponents argue that it is cruel and unusual punishment. Louisiana has 2,224 people in prison for such crimes, but the law can be applied only to those convicted on or after August 1st. Yeah, so that is a good thing. It's another deterrent out there to try to deter these people from doing this, because once again, you're ruining a child's life. They're going to grow up with major issues. No child should have to suffer through something like that. And if you have, I don't have any right now, but there are several hotlines out there you can call and get in touch with somebody to talk, get some help, whatever you may need. I would suggest doing so, because a lot of times just talking about certain things like this can relieve tension, pressure on your chest, weight off your shoulders, if you will, type of stuff like that. So I would suggest getting out there, talking to somebody about it. Even if it comes down to it, go into a Catholic church, right? I know this may sound weird to some people that might not be religious, but look, you can go into a Catholic church and talk to a priest, right? Privately. They don't even have to know who you are. Confession. Right? I'm not Catholic. Never been Catholic. I think they're kind of weird. They do some weird stuff. But that is one of the things that, is very therapeutic for people, to go in and just release everything. Just let somebody know what you've been feeling. Right? It's a good thing to do. We all need to do that sometimes. So, if you need to talk to somebody, I would suggest go do that. But yeah, we need stiffer penalties on certain crimes. But the left, they go absolutely insane with their, no cash bail and all this other stuff. Like letting certain people out of jail is a very bad idea. I can see it for certain crimes, right? Like you get caught with some marijuana or something like that, which, it's almost legal everywhere nowadays. As a matter of fact, the federal government reduced its scheduling or whatever, I believe. Quote me if I'm, let me know down in the comments if I'm wrong on that, but I do believe it has been reduced as far as severity of crimes. But a lot of states have legalized it, which is a good thing. I don't see no problem with it. I think it's better than alcohol, that's for damn sure. Certain things, sure, whatever, I'm fine with that. But when you get into the violent offenses, theft and all this other garbage that's just really bad behavior, people not thinking right, or doing something, those people need punishment. They need to serve time. And the left just like, oh, well, don't blame them, blame society or blame the system and all this other garbage. Just like, no, these people have thought processes, right? They think things through before they do stuff, right? Even if they say, well, I didn't think about it before I did it. No, I'm sorry. No, that excuse doesn't work. That excuse does not work, absolutely. Because you had to think the entire time while you were doing it. So I'm sorry. Don't try to give me that garbage. Well, all these criminals, they're just screwed over by the system, man. Gotta let them do it, let them go. No. We need harsher punishment, y'all. Absentee ballots. In Louisiana, a state where mail-in absentee voting has increased in popularity in recent years, there are new restrictions on such ballots, including limits on how many times a person can help fill one out, sign as a witness, and deliver absentee ballots to the post office. As a matter of fact, they can only do one other person, unless it's your immediate family member, right? Right? These absentee ballots are garbage, if you ask me. I don't think they should be allowed except for very few specific instances, right? Like if you're out of the country, absentee ballots, because we have mail-in voting, which honestly, I think mail-in voting, you should qualify for mail-in voting, to be honest with you. It should only be for qualifying people. If you have some sort of restrictions on mobility, blah, 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 you're in a nursing home, whatever. As a matter of fact, people in nursing homes, I don't know if that's a good idea to allow them to vote most of the time. These are elderly people that are, kind of losing it. They're not really there anymore. I don't think these people should be out there deciding on the people that make up the rules that we have to live by. Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. Let me know if you think I'm wrong on that down in the comment section. But additionally, new legislation makes it easier for officials to throw out absentee ballots that are missing details. Yes, because if you're not smart enough to fill out an absentee ballot the correct way, right? And if you don't proofread your work, you don't check it to make sure it's filled out correctly, I'm sorry. You don't get a vote. If you cannot do that simple thing, you should not be voting. I'm sorry. That is not a controversial take. That is a very logical take. But, leave it to the Associated Press to argue otherwise. Supporters of the legislation, including the state's top election officials, say that the measures will strengthen and help protect election integrity in Louisiana. I happen to agree. Opponents argue that the laws could create more hurdles for voters, specifically raising concerns for elderly residents who may rely on their adult grandchildren, neighbors, or caretakers for help during the election season. Yeah, once again, I'm sorry. If you're so old that you can't get out and go vote, that you can't fill out your absentee ballot and give it to a family member for them to go turn it in or go turn it in yourself, you're probably not capable of actually deciding on who makes the rules that we have to live by. I'm sorry. That's just basic logic, y'all. That is just basic logic. Previously vetoed anti-LGBTQ measures. Here we go. During his final months in office last year, former Governor John Bel Edwards, who was the only Democratic governor in the Deep South during his 2 terms, successfully blocked multiple bills targeting transgender youths in Louisiana. No, I'm sorry, they're not targeting these people whatsoever. But you'll see. But as Governor Jeff Landry entered office in January and the LGBTQ plus community lost their ally in the governor's mansion, previously vetoed bills were able to pass and become law. One new law broadly bars teachers from discussing gender identity and sexual orientation in schools, a type of policy critics have dubbed "Don't Say Gay." In addition, the measure prohibits covering the topics of sexual orientation or gender identity during an extracurricular activity that is under the jurisdiction of the school. That is right. That is not targeting anybody, any LGBTQ person, any transgender, any of that. That's not targeting targeting those people, Associated Press, by the way. It is targeting the schools. As a matter of fact, it is not targeting anybody, any LGBTQ plus people, right? It's just telling the teachers, the school officials, any of that garbage that you can't discuss those things at school. Why, you think? Well, because school is for academia, for God's sakes. You're supposed to go there to learn arithmetic, English, social studies, all this good stuff, economics, blah. Right? It's not there for you to figure out what your gender identity is and to discuss it with your teacher and have them influence that student into turning gay or turning trans or any of this garbage. That is not what school is for. I am sorry to anybody who thinks otherwise. That is not what this place is for. There's no law saying that these children can't do whatever the hell they want to. If they have a certain sexual orientation, whatever. There's no law against it, for crying out loud. It's just, that shouldn't be discussed with their teacher or with any other, school board members, any of that stuff at school. Kids are going to discuss stuff, so that's going to happen. You can't make a law to restrict kids from discussing stuff like that. I'm sorry. That's just not going to happen. That will never happen. That's freedom of speech, blah. But what you can do is prevent the teachers from influencing the kids. And that's what this is really for. Because we see it in California, Washington, Oregon, New York, places like this where they will actually have laws that state that the teacher doesn't have to tell the parents if the student thinks they're trans or something like that. They don't have to let the parents know that, hey, this is going on, and we're using preferred pronouns and all this other garbage. No, I'm sorry. This whole preferred pronouns thing for children, I'm sorry. This is just messing up their heads. That's what I believe. If you're an adult and you want to do all this crap, go right ahead, right? It's a free country, somewhat. But go right ahead. But do not influence and peddle your nonsense to children. That is called grooming, by the way. You're trying to groom them into something because children are very influential. And we don't need teachers and all this crap teaching kids adult things, in other words. Yeah, we don't need none of that. We don't need discussions on gayness at school, right? Kids are going to learn about this stuff in due time, right? Kids shouldn't have a sexual orientation anyway. Before, I'm talking about younger kids. And when you get into high school, that's a different story. We all know what kids do. But still, it shouldn't be discussed between the students and the teachers or any other faculty members or anything like that. Right? This is a very good law. This is a common sense law. That type of activity, school is not the place for that type of activity. So it should be taken out of the schools. We don't need that garbage messing with the kids' heads, for crying out loud. Police buffer zone. Anyone who approaches within 25 feet of a police officer under certain circumstances can now face up to a $500 fine and up to 60 days in jail or both. The new crime can apply to anyone who knowingly or intentionally approaches an officer who is lawfully engaged in the execution of his official duties and has been ordered to stop approaching or retreat. Yes, this is a good idea. It is there for police officer safety. 25 feet. That is not that far, by the way. 25 feet is not very far away at all, but let's just get into the watch. That's all I'm going to say is watch. Critics of the law, including the American Civil Liberties Union of Louisiana, fear that the measure could hinder the public's ability to film officers and impede a person's First Amendment rights. How? I don't know how. I can't see that. Bystander cell phone videos, including that of the 2020 killing of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis officers, have largely been credited with revealing police misconduct and reshaping the conversation around police transparency. Now, what they're trying to do there is they're trying to equivocate this law as to, you can't film police anymore at all. That's what that is. That's what they're trying to tell you. But that's not it at all. They're saying you can't get within 25 feet, which is a very good idea for not only the officer's safety, but for your safety as well. If a cop happens to be patting somebody down, you got a suspect and you're going to search them, and they just so happen to have something on them, right? And they turn around and knock the cop out, right? They might come after you. But the Associated Press or the Civil Liberties Union, I should say, but the Associated Press isn't rebutting it at all. So it's the Associated Press as well. We know the corporate press narrative. They're trying to tell you that this law won't allow people to film cops at all, even though they just told you opposite. They just said 25 feet. That is not very far. If you walk heel to toe, right, 1 foot right in front of the other, 25 times, that's how far that is. Right? A little bit further than your average SUV. Your average, long SUV. That's about how long that is. That's not very far at all. Plus, cameras have a zoom feature that you can zoom right in. Right? I was amazed at my new phone, my new Galaxy S24 Ultra or whatever. Yeah, this one. I was amazed at the camera on that thing. It's nice. It's real nice, as a matter of fact. The camera has a 100x zoom on it. Well, no, I'm sorry. That was my Galaxy S22. Yeah, 100x zoom on that sucker. I could take some awesome moon pic. Of course, it was all pixelated, but it's 100x zoom, for God's sakes. That's crazy. That's crazy. The legislation's language does not specifically mention filming. Exactly. But opponents say that by default it would limit how close a person can be to observe police. Yes, 25 feet is not very far, Associated Press. That is actually the Associated Press talking right there. Proponents argue that the new law will create a buffer zone to help ensure the safety of officers. They say that bystanders would still be close enough to film police interactions. That, as a matter of fact, they can be. I mean, what is so controversial about this law that the Associated Press wrote up a full article and had an entire section for this, right? Huh? I read 3 other stories. Like I always say with these stories, I always read a left-wing source, a right-wing source, and a centrist source. The Associated Press is the only one to write up a full paragraph, a full section on this, right? One of the sources, the right-wing source, as a matter of fact, actually had a list of all the laws that went into effect and what they do, right? The left-wing source didn't, and the centrist source did not. Did not at all. As a matter of fact, the Associated Press doesn't either. They just give you what they think, their opinion of the law. That's why I'm reading their source. All these people, anybody out there tries to say I'm in a bubble. No, I read left-wing news constantly. I know their opinions. I watch MSNBC all the time to see what these people are saying, right? And that's why I know these people are insane, because I also read right-wing news and centrist news, and generally, centrist news and right-wing news, they're generally identical. But left-wing news, not so much. Concealed carry of a firearm in New Orleans. Of course, this is the whole state as well, not just New Orleans. On the 4th of July, a new Republican drafted law went into effect in Louisiana that allows those 18 and older to carry a concealed weapon without a permit. However, in Louisiana's most populated city, New Orleans, the new legislation didn't officially go into effect until Thursday, when an existing city firearms ordinance with more regulations expired. Yes, this is a concealed carry law. We're free now. We can conceal carry without a damn permit. Thank God. Right? We are following other states that have all gone through this. This is the epitome of the Second Amendment, right? This is great. This is great for firearm people out there. I'm not that big on firearms. But, you know, I love the Second Amendment, regardless. But I think I've rambled on for long enough on this one, y'all. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.